Bobby, we are so pleased to be back here talking about, in this case, what makes a strong family. And we're going to be talking about 6 strengths, which I'm going to put right here for just a moment. That way you can see what we're going to be talking about. We would like for you to think of this and make yourself an exercise. We're going to do it. And that is to set a continuum of 1 to 10 and thinking of 10 as the best. And that a 1 is I've got potential to move forward. So on each of these strengths, we would like for you to gauge yourself. We'll do that.
Yes, and you can do it when we do it, or you can save it, and when you and your partner are available with a good time, you can practice sharing where you think your particular number is on the continuum of strengths. Yes. This came from a study in the 1980s?
Yes, I was a part of a nationwide survey or training program. They invited 50 family consultants to come to University of Nebraska and be part of a national training program on building family strengths.
Well, one thing that was interesting to me about that program was up until the 1980s, most research that had been done on families was on the dysfunctional. What's not working? Right. How can therapists help it work better? Yeah. This one, along with a few others, daring ones in the 1980s, tried to figure out, well, the families that are working, what do they have in the way of strengths and health that keep them intact and keep their kids healthy and safe and growing that dysfunctional families don't have? So this one was on strengths and was a beginning one. So the 6 strengths.
Yes, the first one is commitment. Mm-hmm. And it could be commitment to family, and certainly with the married couple, it would be commitment to the relationship of the couple. And
commitment is important because it's the attitude, I think, that governs what you do and what you say. Yes. It's an important philosophy toward this relationship can work, and I'm going to do my part to commit to see that it does work.
Yes, it's almost like that every member of the family, our desire for them, each person, is that we as the leaders, as the couple leading our children, that each person reaches his or hers full potential in life. Mm-hmm. That we want to be uplifting in the way we treat each other rather than downgrading or putting down.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that the commitment is an attitude that governs what you do. Well, on that continuum that we're going to be doing, from 1 to 10, where would you say you are on that continuum of 1 to 10?
Well, I feel very strongly about our commitment, my commitment, and but I know that I have ways to grow, and to do it, as you said, that it is the attitude, the way that you look at the whole situation. I'm going to say an 8 for me. How about you?
Well, I said an 8.5.
An 8.5?
Yes, okay. I probably because of our age, I feel really, really committed to make this work, and to make us as happy as we can be as a couple. But I don't always do the right things. And I know I don't. And so I need to leave room for growth in there. Okay. I feel good about my attitude toward commitment, but the things I do and say don't always mirror the commitment level that I feel.
Okay. So we both could benefit from doing more than we know to do.
Mhm. Well, let's go on to the second
Right.
strength, and that is appreciation.
That's an exciting one, and I want to say that I'm very interested in this because my background is not to verbalize a lot of things, and so I have more work to do, and I'm going to say a 7.
Oh, you're jumping right to the.
Yeah, I do want to get there.
Okay, a 7 because of your background and your personality.
That it's not the easiest thing personally to just affirm people. It doesn't mean that I don't want to.
Mhm.
My background is we didn't do a lot of affirmation
Mhm.
when I was growing up, and hugging and all those things, expressiveness.
Well, I'm going to put a 9 on appreciation for me
I think that's good.
because I think it's really one of the most important ones of the strengths.
Mhm.
And I think I have tried really hard in the last few years to be supportive verbally,
Yeah.
to be complimentary, to show appreciation. And I also think of appreciation as gratitude. And if I can stay in an attitude of gratitude during the day, it helps me with what I do and say, just to know what I'm grateful for.
And the more we do that, the less we do criticism and that sort of thing, because we are affirming each other in the midst of. But years ago, we wrote this book on family strengths, and I love that illustration that you put in there about when our daughters were very young, and you commented on something which was
yes. I think that this is the one you're
Okay.
talking about as we prepared for today. It was about Christmas time, and I was driving in the car, and our 2 little daughters were in the back seat.
We have 3.
Well, we have 3, but 2 of them were in the back seat. And so I was singing a Christmas carol, and it had the words, all through the night, angels did sing, and carols so sweet of the birth of the King. And from the back seat, I heard one of my daughters say,
Well, whose name is Carol?
yes. And she said, Stacy, did you hear that? Mommy said, Carol so sweet. That means she loves me.
Well, that's just a beautiful thing to me that she recognized that and saw it in that particular.
She picked up words of what she thought were appreciation and interpreted it to mean Mommy loves me and I'm in a good place.
Yeah.
So appreciation is the second strength. Let's go on to the third one.
The third one is communication. Can you believe that?
Mm-hmm.
And
What we say matters so much. Words have such power to wound, but also to bless, to lift up, to encourage.
yes. And how we communicate as a couple, for instance, is a training program for the children, because they will mirror everything that we do. And certainly the way we talk, the way we react, all those things, they mimic.
And words just have so much power.
Yes.
It takes a minute, but I want to say how important it was when we watched some documentary on George Washington.
Okay.
And it was his military experience, and that led to the Revolutionary War. And he's the general, and they're into it, and they've lost a lot. And it's winter, and they're at Valley Forge. And they've run out of money, and Congress can't appropriate anymore, and they're only eating scraps that got delivered to them. His men don't have shoes, desertion level is high, and he knows he has to do something. So they're going to cross the Delaware and a surprise attack on the British. And he leads his men out to the boats to get in, and there's a big sleet storm and a high wind. It's just awful. So he takes out a pamphlet that he recently got from Thomas Paine on summer soldiers and sunshine patriots, and he reads to them. it's the only thing he has to motivate them to get in those boats and go across that stormy river. It just showed me again how powerful words are,
Yes.
and what we can accomplish in building strong families if we use our words well.
Yes, words that do matter. And so, and because the people matter, the family members matter.
Well, did we do our communication?
No, I put a 7 there because I feel somewhat behind on using words in a positive way at times, and so I've got work to do.
Well, I probably use words to praise and encourage, but I put a 7 for me because I can also use them to wound.
Okay.
And I want to correct that better. So this is one of my lowest ones. I put a 7 to be honest about where I am and how much more potential I want to claim in using words well.
Okay. Let's go on to time. Time again.
Mm-hmm.
Time together is really the way the word goes.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I want to say is to put some what you would say non-negotiable. I couldn't get the word out. Non-negotiables. I had a lot of nones in my head, but that was one that I needed to say. Non-negotiables for me every day. One is our couple time, and I think time together, and I think you said it, with purpose.
Mm-hmm.
That we use it wisely. And
well, we're all together more often than we've been in this strange pandemic time that we're pioneering through.
True.
But to be intentional about how we use that time together is an important part of whether it turns out well or not. It's not just letting it happen to us and hope we get through it. It's making some plans.
Exactly. Well, I put a 9 on time together because I feel I use my time fairly wisely, and yet I have need to grow in that area because I do waste what I consider wasted time.
Well, I put an 8.5 for the time together stream.
All right.
Because we're just together so much more now that that we have to be at home more.
Right.
And I think we've used it well. We do a puzzle together. Yes. We play dominoes every day. We have our couple time
and exercise.
And all
prayer time.
Yes, in the mornings we start with that.
Bible reading.
And because we do, I feel we've used our time constructively.
Yes.
But there's still more potential there, and I wanted to leave room for that.
And maybe to pick up on what I said a while ago, some non-negotiables about time for me. What is something that I'm not going to leave out or I'm not going to negotiate? And that's really major.
Well, we are at home in the kitchen during this time of chat, and like many of you, there are interruptions that come, and that's a telephone call that just happened. The fifth stream that we want to talk about is what are their names? Stenay and
Nick Stenay and John Dufresne really were the researchers that did this nationwide emphasis on family strengths, and they came up with these 6 strengths, which I had shown to you one more time earlier.
And we're now on the 5th one of what they call spiritual wellness. That's a strength for a family, to define the values that you find important, to share those values with your children, to help them, to encourage them, to live by those values.
Yeah.
It's an important family strength and identity, I think, to have some values that are communicated.
Yes, and to express the faith of the parents so that the children know where they're coming from.
Mhm.
And that was very important to us as people of faith, and to make sure that our children caught this faith
Mhm.
rather than we open their heads and pour it in, that it becomes something that they would choose to do.
Well, where do you think we stand on a continuum?
Well, I
of
picked up
spiritual
on your
wellness?
idea of 8.5.
Mhm.
I think we're serious about it and we want to grow, but I just think I have growth yet to do.
Mhm.
And that was important.
Well, I put a 9 on this. This was one of
Okay.
my highest ones, the appreciation being the other 9, because I think we share a lot of the important values in life.
I think we do.
I think you ought to be grateful every day that I share your value on money.
I am.
You are a thrifty, economical soul.
That's true.
That
Tightwad, somebody might call it.
is a real bargain hunter in every way. And so the fact that I've never cared a whole lot about money ought to just ease all your concerns.
Well, but I learned that the first month of our marriage.
That I didn't care about money.
That's right, and it really caught my attention fast that we needed to work on that a bit.
Yes, well, like many couples, money is an important subject, and even more so these days.
Yes.
And so getting a handle on an important value like attitude toward money, lots of good conversation can come out of that.
But I do think you're right. The whole that issue of money is that we don't put too much weight in it. That it becomes the stress point of our marriage, which a lot of families would make money a stress point,
Mhm.
which gets to the 6th strength, and that is crisis or stress.
Yes.
Or another way to say it, conflict management. And
But it's coping with the stress.
It's coping with
and
it,
the crisis, because
Yes.
stress is going to come to everybody.
Yes, you can't say, I don't want any stress. You're going to have
More
stress. And we're in a crisis. We're in a pandemic, not just simply a crisis. And there's fearfulness in the midst of all of this. I don't want to get COVID-19. And so I think to look at family strengths, you take the first 5, the commitment, the appreciation, the communication, the time together, the spiritual wellness, all of those. If you do those, you can cope with the stress and with the crises.
So where do you think we stand on that that continuum?
Well, I put it at a 9 because I take it in stride. And how about yourself?
Well, that was one of my lowest ones. I put a 7.
Okay.
If it's real crisis, it's a health issue. Like you came home from tennis one day after a really bad fall, and I knew it was bad
With blood all over.
when I saw you. Yes, I was calm. I was looking for how to help. I was seeing if we needed to call an ambulance. I handled it really well.
You did. I was very proud of you.
But if it's just day-to-day irritation and stress, I don't handle that very well.
Yes.
I let little irritations get to me too much. And so it spills over in our relationship. That's why I put a 7.
Okay, I can see that. Well, we are really pleased to have this opportunity to talk about family strengths.
And we hope you will do the same thing. I hope you remember, or you have written down the 6 strengths.
Mhm.
And at a
I'll put it
time
out
that's
here.
available, talk it over with your partner. See where you stand on a continuum and why. There's not a right or wrong. And remember, if you have a low score, it's not bad. That just means you've got a lot of potential for growth there.
Right. Anyway, we're delighted to be with you again today. It's our pleasure.
And we hope to see you again next week.
So long.